I want to talk about a poll that came up about the most overrated player in the NFL. And it was voted on by the players.
Which always is crazy to me how they get these polls.
And the most overrated player in the NFL based on their peers was Josh Allen. Then came Tua. Then came Jalen Hurts. Literally on the NFL preview show, I said that outside of Patrick Mahomes, the only guy that I trust with my life to deliver in a big spot in a playoff game is Josh Allen.
You did.
That's not being overrated.
Agreed. Isn't it funny that it was 3 quarterbacks?
Yeah.
Is that one of the most overrated looked at positions? Like, it's easy to call a lot of these quarterbacks overrated because they're the only people that we talk about on those teams.
What are we basing it being overrated? What is the criteria to overrated for you? Now, I don't know your answer, and I think this is something that's subjective, right? Is it the money they're making? Is it what their reputation is to the mainstream media that we think it's over or properly or underrated? I don't know. I have my rationale I'll get to in a little bit. But to me, I think that the idea that he's the most overrated is wild. Are we basing it on him not winning Super Bowls? Hey, man, it's hard to win a championship as I started the show out, number one. Number two, what did we say on the preview show, bro? It's the Mahomes era now.
Mm-hmm.
And
you better buckle up.
There's so many great quarterbacks in the league that they might not win championships because number 15 is in Kansas City. And I was talking to my boy Will. Shouts to Will. He used to play football at UNLV. I think you know Will.
Yeah, I played with Will.
So I do jiu-jitsu with him, and we were paired up, and we were talking about it. And he's like, yo, what do you like this year? And I'm like, man, the more I look at it, I feel dumb not taking the Chiefs at 6-1 for the Super Bowl. I know Jeremiah was telling you, and he told me about just sort of not a round robin, but you take them to win the AFC with like the top 4 contenders, and you get anywhere from like 25-1 odds to like 70-1 odds. And it's your Eagles, it's your Niners, it's the Cowboys and Packers or Lions. It's like those teams, right? Mm-hmm. And the more I look at it, bro, it's like, are we calling Josh Allen overrated? Are we calling Jalen Hurts overrated? Are we calling Tua overrated? Are we calling these guys overrated because they can't beat Pat Mahomes in the playoffs? I believe he's 13-3 in his career in the playoffs. Pat Mahomes is. Mm-hmm. It's like, is that what we're basing this conversation off? Because that's wild to me.
Yeah.
Jordan beat all these guys. LeBron would beat these guys that couldn't come out the East when he was there. There's all these players, Messi and Ronaldo in soccer. They won like 15 consecutive Ballon d'Ors. Does it mean everyone else is trash or overrated? I don't know what the criteria is, but for me, when it comes to Josh Allen, it's Mahomes and him that it could be on the road in Kansas City. It could be in terrible weather. This guy delivers in big spots. And I know the one black eye that he has on his career was the game at home in the snow against the Bengals. That's probably the one where you're like, man, that doesn't fit this take that you have.
Right.
All right, man, he had a stinker, right? And when it comes to Mahomes and the Chiefs, I think last year was the year to get him, bro. Their offense is going to be better. He's there. Their defense might regress, but if they won a Super Bowl and the offense was kind of lackluster, you're never going to beat them. Mm-hmm. So I know I went long-winded here. I think the idea that Josh Allen is the most overrated player in the league is wild to me. I think it's Mahomes and him when it comes to having good games.
I 100% agree with everything you said there. I look at it more so when you're like trying to accurately think about what makes an overrated player. I think it's at some point in time they had a level of success that appeared to put them on a trajectory of greatness. So for example, like this could be a high school or a college player making like a viral catch or a play, or having or being like a 5-star recruit out of high school and then just not panning out in the NFL. I think that's the true definition of somebody who is overrated. Especially when it comes to their play, not, necessarily reflecting the 5-star rating, or like whatever big viral moment they had. the list that I came up with, I feel is, pretty accurate based on the offseason that just happened. I do want to know, though, what your list is first, because you were very adamant on saying Josh Allen is not the most overrated player. So who is the most overrated player?
So the way I base overrated, I feel like we need to explain that first.
Mm-hmm.
I think overrated is what is your reputation amongst like consensus and public perception,
Mm-hmm.
and then how I view you as, right? Because it's all about being subjective, right?
Correct.
It's kind of what everything is: sports betting, public perception, just the whole nine, right? I think the most overrated player in the NFL is a skill position player. And I think the most overrated player in the NFL is Joey Bosa. Think about the money he's made.
Yes.
His impact is... It's crazy because my list is all defensive ends.
That's funny. I had Joey Bosa as my third player. I agree with you. The only things you remember Joey Bosa from are going in to watch his brother's 49er games and him yelling at fans. Like that's your highlight moment of the last 3 years. Underperformed. The most recent Chargers edge rusher to pop off was Khalil Mack, who had 7 sacks in a game that kind of just fell to him. And then you see him do it and you're like, Joey, like,
Yeah.
what have you done?
In the last 4 years, he's had one double-digit sack season. Mind you, it's an extra game now, and there's more passing. And his reputation is, the Bosa brothers. It's like, no, it's really Nick.
Yeah.
It's really Nick Bosa.
And even Nick, I was
beast.
kind of teetering on possibly putting him on the list there too.
Yeah.
I just think that there's so many better edge rushers.
Yeah.
And so I guess that doesn't surprise me that you had 3 DNs.
Yeah. And this one's gonna sound crazy. You know who I think I don't get the hype. I don't understand it. Myles Garrett.
That one I'll fight back on.
Okay.
That one I'll fight back on.
I think he's the current defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Whose team gives up 17 more points on the road than they do at home. And in the playoff game, as a favorite on the road to the Texans, you would have thought I was playing defensive end for the Cleveland Browns. That's how much of a non-factor he was.
I know. It was a long season. I'm not going to hold it against Miles. No, he knew. He's like, I got Joe Flacco. We're done. The season's done. There's no Flacco magic in the playoffs for us. He knew it. He just took it easy. That's actually nuts that you said that he's overrated, because I feel like after the Myles Garrett thing, like everybody or after the Mason Rudolph thing where he hit him in the head with a helmet, I feel like everybody like turned on him.
Oh yeah. Do you know in my lifetime as a football fan, and most recently, the most overrated player was Ezekiel Elliott. Dude had one good season.
Facts.
His rookie year.
With possibly the best offensive line that's been assembled in the last 20 years.
Anyone that listens to VM, when Tony Pollard was a rookie, right away I was like, yo, he's the better running back. And everyone's like, yo, you're a Cowboy hater. You hate Dallas. You hate this. I'm like, bro, it's the eye test. He just looks better. It's the same situation. One guy gets 2 yards a carry. The other one gets 8. It's like sometimes you don't need to. I used to say the same shit when Aaron Jones was young with the Packers when I first started VM.
Right.
And they'd be like, PFF would be like, oh, Jamal Williams and all these other guys, the 80 Laceys of the world. It's like, no, bro, this guy's better. I don't care what your grades are. Just watch the games.
Yeah.
And I hate being a watch the game guy because sometimes I feel like that's
true.
really ignorant to like say that to people.
No, but it's not ignorant at all. It's the truth. How else am I supposed to?
It's just the eye test, bro. Like I feel like it's the eye test. And you know what? To me, I think the most overrated was him. It was Ezekiel Elliott. Another guy I could tell you off the top of my head, we're still waiting for Kyle Pitts to be something.
Oh my God.
Bro, this is year 4 or 5. How many years has he been in the league?
Here's the thing. He was overrated 2 years ago, and it just turns out that he sucked. I think you get 2 years of being called overrated, and then you're just, I guess suck's not the right word, but you just, yeah.
This is
You're not good.
This is going to be year 4 for him that we've been waiting for him to be this like thing, right?
Yeah, but he's underrated at this point. If he was to pop off, people would be like, "Oh, the most underrated player to pop off." Guarantee you, some fucking company would write that.
I don't know, bro.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. Give me another name that you have as overrated.
Brandon Ayuk. I think Brandon Ayuk is extremely overrated. I think he's a system superstar. I think you can put just about anybody out there that can catch passes and is faster than Deebo Samuels, and they would look great. He is a system superstar. Brandon Ayuk is overrated. The 49ers paid him, though. So that's the way I feel. I think it works out based in the Shanahan system. I think outside of that, I think he's a very mid-tier receiver. Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is overrated. It kind of falls into the line of like a quarterback that's gotten a lot of love throughout the years. I look at him as somebody who always just gets out at the right time, right? Left the Redskins at the right time. Obviously, the injury with Minnesota, but he also kind of saw the writing on the wall. That last year that he was fully healthy, he was like, okay, I just have to be good enough to throw a 3rd and 18 pass to Justin Jefferson anywhere in the 12-foot radius of him, and we'll be okay. But he needs that in order to be extremely successful, and I don't think that's going to happen this year with the Falcons. I think he's overrated. I think there's nothing truer than the Falcons drafting a quarterback that shows you're overrated. You're overrated. We paid you, but we got your backup literally a month later. You're overrated. So I think the Falcons even told us he was. And then my third player I had was Joey Bosa. So, yeah. It blows my mind. Josh Allen, Tua, and Hurts. How do you say Jalen Hurts is overrated?
You know what?
I mean,
you know what drives me crazy?
Stretch Tua, I can see.
Why is it his fault? Why is it Brock Purdy's fault that they got drafted to the teams that they got drafted to?
Right. Got to stop hating.
Yeah, you lucked out. You went to the team. Like, bro, you know what people forget? The Chiefs were really good before Mahomes got there, but they became great when he got there. Like when he took over. This team was winning double-digit games with Alex Smith and Andy Reid there. They were making the playoffs. They were a good team. When he got there, it unlocked the playbook, and now we've seen them in an AFC championship every year, and they've won 3 Super Bowls.
Yep.
Right? So, like, yeah, it unlocks everything when he gets there. But to me, I can't blame you for going to the right situation. We've talked about it so many times. In any sport, we've had CJ Watson on. He says it. Brandon Marshall said it when I had him on the show. Everyone says it, that so much is luck. Where you get drafted to, bro. You might get drafted to a team where they're going to give you 24 shots a game. Then you're going to have 30 points a game.
Right.
You might go to a situation where you're going to have 4 looks and maybe 3 of them should be shots. You're going to average 3.2 points per game for the first 4 years.
That's all you're doing.
And then you're asked out.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is just situational and where you end up. And I think Jalen Hurts falls victim to that because that team is really good and they draft well and they develop well. And then they also trade well. Like, I guarantee you Philly at some point during the season, like week 7 or 8, they're going to get some veteran that's still good. All right. Last year, Byard didn't work out last year when they got him from the Titans.
For sure.
But at the time, we're like, how the hell did Roseman get this guy too?
Yep.
So with Jalen Hurts, they just develop well, man. And it's a good organization.